Got a beautiful sunset evening here. Got the drone out to go for a quick flight. There was a couple sitting down the trail just a little bit from me, so I took off and got away from camp as quick as I could so it wasn't to disturb them. So we got out to just enjoy this beautiful scenery. We've got one of those peaks, I believe, is almost 13,000 feet, and the other one is over 14,000 feet. We're also flying over this beautiful mountain valley. You can see some water down in the bottom. There's a little bit of a river that runs through. Trees and everything is just so thick and beautiful here in this mountain. You can see I'm jumping back and forth from my Walksnail view and the RunCam thumb. I actually think the Walksnail has better colors, but the thumb is crisper because the Walksnail, I just took the goggle recording instead of onboard. The onboard was full because it's kind of a pain to get onboard footage off of the Walksnail VTX. So anyway, you can see a beautiful spot for a little cabin over there. What a great spot to be able to hang out and enjoy this nice scenery here. So I was really enjoying myself just flying along and looking at all this beautiful scenery, these beautiful mountains. I was doing my best to fly very smoothly, hoping to give it a nice cinematic feel. I was really just enjoying everything that there was to see up here. Now this drone I built, I actually didn't build for this kind of flying. It's more for chasing other aircraft and short flights. But I had recently gotten a slightly bigger battery pack, and so I thought, I can get out here and catch some of the scenery a little bit better. And so right here, I think I'm getting close to 2 kilometers away from where I took off, and I really haven't used even half of my battery yet, I don't believe. And so I'm just enjoying the scenery and soaking it all in. Now as I turn around here, I'm actually looking back towards home at this point. Although if you look at that mountainside, it's kind of hard to tell where that would be. Of course, this drone is equipped with GPS, and I do have a home arrow on my on-screen display to help guide me back to home. Otherwise, you could get really lost really easily out in a place like this. So here I am, continuing to just fly that canyon, now going the other direction, and you can see that river that meanders down off in the distance. There's some ponds down below me here, and just some really beautiful scenery to take in. There's a look at those really tall peaks again. For a second here, you can see I went in to return to home. I lost my my receiver connection for only a second there. It spun around, and then I got the connection back. And so I continued to fly, being a little more cautious and aware of my receiver signal. Looking at my battery voltage, I decided it was time to head back. I'm not too far away, 700 meters, so I can cover that distance pretty quick. So I start headed towards home. This green arrow at the bottom, it's pointing in the direction of home, and if it's dark green and pointed straight ahead, then I'm headed straight towards home. So now I'm focused on that green arrow to get me back to home. But I've kind of lost sight of my distance. I'm paying more attention to that arrow, and now my voltage, because 19 volts is a little low, and now 18 volts, and I'm beginning to panic a little bit. So at this point I kind of punched the throttle trying to book it to home. Now I'm down at 16 volts, which is really bad. 15 volts. Now that road's going to be important, because there everything just went black. And at this point I'm in a little bit of a panic, sitting there on the side of the mountain, and I'm just staring at a blank screen. No idea if my drone's alive. Oh, for a second, it came back, and it's gone again. I had stood up and turned my head around because my spotter told me the drone ended up behind me. So I turned my head trying to get it signal, and I got signal for just a second. And those coordinates are going to be really important. So now you got to remember, it was sunset when this happened. So I reviewed the footage in my goggles and wrote down those coordinates, and then I grabbed a headlamp and a flashlight, and I started traipsing through the forest to go see if I could find my lost drone. Now it was pretty thick, dense forest there, and so it was a bit of a hike to get out there, and I spent hours out there searching with that flashlight and headlamp, going through all the bushes and trees. I had my cell phone with me, and maps pulled up with that GPS coordinate and the map showing my position. I was able to walk right to that coordinate and searched and searched. I kicked around bushes and moved branches and all sorts of things and found nothing. So I went back to camp and I studied the video some more, got some more feeling as to where it may have landed, and then I went back out there again. On my second trip out, when I got back to the search area, I was met with a herd of cattle, and they were all really interested in me and my bright light, being that it was very dark, and they stood there and just stared at me and were kind of in the way. They were standing right on the area I wanted to search. And so with a little bit of patience and making a little bit of noise, they finally walked off a different way, and I was able to get back to my search. And so I searched probably another hour again in the dark and still had no luck. So I finally decided that I wasn't going to find it in the dark, and I would wake up early the following morning. I would see what I could find then. So I woke up about the same time the sun came up the next morning, and I got back to work searching out there. It actually started to rain on me for a little bit, which I really didn't care. I just wanted to find my drone at this point, figuring the battery was toast, but if I could salvage everything else, it would still be worth it if I could find it. So again, I continued to search for a few more hours. So we took up Dad's drone and used it to do some of the searching. This marshy area was a nightmare to hike through. It's hard to tell from this drone view, but that was 3 to 4 feet deep and really hard. And we were thinking that maybe it was in there, but it was not. We searched that whole hillside there The coordinates said it was in this general area, so I searched everything over here in that marshy place. I searched down in these trees here, all along this hillside here. I searched and searched. I searched all this. Now remember, this all happened at sunset, and so I actually searched most of these woods for about 2.5 hours in the dark using a headlamp and some flashlights. And then this drone footage is actually from the next morning when I came back out and searched all again. I searched along this hill here. Now you can see we're in that view, the last view that I had in my drone. And so we flew up here to see if we could get a better idea of where it could be. So everywhere this arrow is showing is places that I searched for hours and hours. But from this view, we decided that it was pretty unlikely that that drone was going to make it into that marsh area because there was a lot of trees that it would have had to go through before it would have made it to the marsh. So all of this area that you can see below us, I searched all of it. And then now this arrow is showing the hike that I had to take to get back to camp, which I took multiple times in the dark and again the following morning. While doing our search, I did take a moment to just look at the beautiful view, the beautiful scenery around us, which was the initial point of flying the evening before, is to just enjoy what a beautiful place we had the opportunity to go camp in. But looking at this, you can see just how dense this forest was, and to have your drone go down in something this thick made for a very long and intense search. I think all in, I was probably 4, maybe even 5 hours of searching. Probably half of that was in the dark. I searched all of this multiple times, over and over and over again. And right there, that's where I finally found it. It was right there, and it was actually within about 15 feet of those GPS coordinates. Had I had a beeper on my drone, I would have found it that first evening right away. But I had failed to install a beeper, and that's the first thing I'm going to do when I get it home now. So this is the walk back to where we were camped. Again, I did this walk multiple times to get out there and search for a while, and then I'd go back and try and do a little more research on where it could have landed based off of my goggle footage, and then I'd go out and I'd search some more, and after many hours we did finally find it, and I was so excited and thrilled that I completely forgot to take a picture of where it was or of the dense area that it was in or video anything, because I was just so excited and relieved to have found my drone. And so then we were able to pack up and head home, because this was the last day of our wonderful vacation that we had been on.